Mimi nasema nobody can stop reggae.
My friends, reggae will stop.
Mimi Raila Amolo Odinga nimechoka.
Ati watakuwa prime minister na madeputy prime minister, katiba haina hiyo vyeo. Ati watabadilisha katiba baadaye. Ai. Mtu mzima kudanganywa mchana na nakubali. Cheo cha prime minister iliisha wakati serikali ya nusu mkate ilienda nyumbani.
We can develop the law, we can develop the jurisprudence of the country if at times we do what you have done in this case, that each judge writes the judgment as gives his or her own views on the matter. My lords, it is during crisis that you can see large judicial minds. This case has been a big case, and one thing that I've observed on my own is the greatness of judicial minds we have in the country. As a country, as one of the judges pointed out, we tend to criticize ourselves a lot.
Only the proposals by KNUN that were not incorporated in the amendment bill. For these reasons, I would dismiss the appeal by KNUN. Number 20, whether the petitioners had made out a case for disclosure and publication of the steering committee's financial information. I have considered what Mr. Morara said in that cross appeal and come to the conclusion that there is no demonstration at all by Mr. Morara that he requested for any information from the President, Honorable Raila Odinga, and the BBI steering committee regarding the budget and public funds allocated and utilized in promoting the impugned bill. The learned judges cannot therefore be faulted for declining to issue their aforesaid orders. Consequently, I would dismiss Mr. Morara's cross appeal on the issue. And the last one is whether the High Court erred in admitting Amishi Kuria, who were partisan. My conclusion is that, in my view, there is no evidence that the Amishi who were admitted to the High Court proceedings were biased. Their respective briefs were of great assistance to the learned judges in determining the issues I have alluded to. Although the Amishi were not parties to the High Court matters, having been admitted in the proceedings in that limited capacity, in the appeals, the first appellant named them as respondents, and therefore they had to file submissions in reply. I must add that I found the submissions quite useful in this appeal. Disposition. Having determined all the issues that we considered germane in these consolidated appeals, the final orders of the court are as follows. A. We uphold the judgment of the High Court to the extent that we affirm the following. 1. The basic structured doctrine is applicable in Kenya. Sichale J.A. dissenting. 2. The basic structure doctrine limits the amendment power set in Articles 255 to 257 of the Constitution. Sichale J.A. dissenting. For you? Yes. Okay. Sorry, I take this back. 2. The basic structure doctrine limits the amendment power set out in Articles 255 to 257 of the Constitution. Okwengu J.A. and Sichale J.A. dissenting. Number 3, the basic structure of the Constitution can only be altered through the primary constituent power, which must include 4 sequential processes, namely civic education, public participation and collection of views, constituent assembly debate, and ultimately a referendum. Okwengu, Katembu, and Sichale JJA dissenting. 4, civil court proceedings can be instituted against the president or a person performing in the functions of the office of the president during their tenure of office in respect of anything done or not done contrary to the Constitution. Tuyot J.A. dissenting. 5, the president does not have authority under the Constitution to initiate changes to the Constitution, and that a constitutional amendment can only be initiated by Parliament through a parliamentary initiative under Article 256 or through a popular initiative under Article 257 of the Constitution. 6, the Steering Committee on the implementation of the Building Bridges to a United Kenya Task Force report, the BBI Steering Committee has no legal capacity to initiate any action towards promoting constitutional changes under Article 257 of the Constitution. 7, the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020 is unconstitutional and a usurpation of the people's exercise of sovereign power. 8, the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020 cannot be subjected to a referendum in the absence of evidence of continuous voter registration by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Sichale J.A. dissenting. Number 9, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission does not have the requisite quorum for purposes of carrying out its business relating to the conduct of the proposed referendum, including the verification whether the initiative as submitted by the Building Bridges Secretariat is supported by the requisite number of registered voters in accordance with Article 257(4) of the Constitution. Sichale J.A. dissenting. Number 10, at the time of the launch of the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020 and the collection of endorsement signatures, there was neither legislation governing the collection, presentation, and verification of signatures, nor an adequate legal regulatory framework to govern the conduct of referenda. Sichale J.A. dissenting. Number 11, county assemblies and parliament cannot, as part of their constitutional mandate, change the contents of the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020 initiated through a popular initiative under Article 257 of the Constitution. Number 12, the second schedule to the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020, insofar as it purports to predetermine the allocation of the proposed additional 70 constituencies and to direct the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission on its function of constituency delimitation, is unconstitutional. Sichale J.A. dissenting. Number 13, the administrative procedures for the verification of signatures in support of the Constitution Amendment referendum made by the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission are illegal, null and void, because they were made without quorum and in violation of sections 5, 6, and 11 of the Statutory Instruments Act 2013. Sichale J.A. dissenting. And 15, a permanent injunction be and is hereby issued restraining the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission from undertaking any processes required under Article 257(4) and 5 in respect of the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020. B. We hereby set aside the following declarations and orders of the High Court. 1. That President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta has contravened Chapter 6 of the Constitution and specifically Article 73(1)(a)(1) by initiating and promoting a constitutional change process contrary to the provisions of the Constitution on amendment of the Constitution. 2. That Article 257(10) of the Constitution requires all the specific proposed amendments to the Constitution be submitted as separate and distinct questions, referendum questions to the people. Nambuye, Okwengu, and Kiage JJA descending. 3. The BBI Steering Committee established by the President via Kenya Gazette Notice number 264 of 3rd January 2020 and published in a special issue of the Kenya Gazette of 10th January 2020 is an unconstitutional and unlawful entity. And lastly, the cross appeals fail and are hereby dismissed. This being a public interest matter, the parties shall bear their own costs in these appeals and in the High Court. In conclusion, on behalf of the entire bench that heard these unprecedented appeals, I wish to sincerely thank all the parties and their respective advocates for the diligent manner in which they argue these appeals and for the industry that they put in the preparation of all the useful material that was availed to the court. The authorities were so voluminous that time did not permit us to peruse and cite as many as we would have wished to. I found the submissions by all the parties quite concise and well researched, and that is our task of preparing this judgment. I also wish to thank our legal researchers and secretarial staff for their immense help in the preparation of this judgment. And with that, we come to the end. We come to the end of our delivery of the judgment in these consolidated appeals. But there is one other, 307 of 2021.
Mimi nasema nobody can stop reggae.
Katika nchi ya nani? My friends, reggae will stop.